Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the announcement of some pretty big news out of New York City and the New York Rangers. The 28th captain in New York Rangers history has been announced. We're going to take a look at that, my thoughts on that, some of the guys that were also in the conversation. We're going to take a look at that today. So, the New York Rangers are moving in a new direction as they have not had a captain throughout this rebuild. Their last captain was in the 2018 season with Ryan McDonagh. We know how things went there. He ended up getting traded on literally at the deadline back in 2018 to the Tampa Bay Lightning, a blockbuster trade. And that's the last captain they've had. So this is now 4 seasons that the Rangers have not had a captain. So you think about what's happened since then. I mean, since 2018, new president, bubble, right? The playoff bubble, COVID, just how much the world has changed in that time. It's kind of incredible when you think about it. But the New York Rangers have their next captain. And, I think this is kind of a move that I have to say I was a little bit surprised by, but I'm not against it. So let's get into it. So, first off, you look at the Rangers. I said this is the 28th captain in Rangers history. I mean, you look at some of the guys here, their names hang in the rafters. Vic Hadfield, Phil Esposito, Mark Messier, Brian Leetch, Jaromir Jagr, Chris Drury, Ryan Callahan, Ryan McDonagh. I mean, you just look at some of those recent captains. I mean, that is a pretty good list of hockey players. And I would say of those guys I mentioned, at least 5 of those guys, if not maybe eventually all of those guys potentially could be in the Hall of Fame. Listen, as a New York Islanders fan, I hate the Rangers, of course. But this is a great move by the Rangers. And here's why. So, a lot of people would assume that they should go with either the most talented player on the team, or do they go with the guy that's got the best leadership, or do they go with the guy that's the up-and-coming young guy that's eventually going to lead this team forward for the next potentially 2 decades in New York? So, I'm slightly surprised, but maybe not for the reason you'd expect. So, the Rangers' most recent captain was McDonagh, was a defenseman. It does make sense there. And a lot of people had the sentiment it could be a Panarin. It could be a Zibanejad. Right? And obviously that's not the case with Panarin. We know how things are between Drury and Panarin after this season. And you could argue the same kind of for Zibanejad. One of the players that I think had the... again, we talk about what happens in prime time. Right? You're in the springtime, March, April, May, potentially June. The Rangers are pretty close to June. Who performs during that time? When it's Game 6, Game 7, you need that clutch goal. You need that clutch save. You need that just it factor. Jacob Trouba has that. Now, again, a lot of Rangers fans may disagree with me on that. And obviously I want to hear what you guys think. But Jacob Trouba, as an Islander fan, I can tell you, I hate Jacob Trouba. And that's a good thing if you're a Rangers fan. Because that's a guy that, more likely than not, is a guy, if the very next day there was a trade to your team of that guy, you'd probably be okay with it. And as much as Rangers fans may hate this, think of a guy like Tom Wilson. Why does everybody hate Wilson? Because he's a goon and he's a good hockey player. And that's the thing, is... It's one of those things where that's how I look at life, right? If someone hates you enough, you know you're doing something right. And I kind of look at Jacob Trouba in that sense. I'm not threatened by Panarin or Zibanejad or Kakko or even Lafreniere. But Trouba is. And he's been a stalwart on that blue line for a couple of years now. Maybe he's not worth the money that he makes. Fair point, and I would agree with you there. He's making a lot of money for what he actually provides. But this is a guy that we don't know all the details. Because I think he's a leader in that locker room. As much as Revo is as well, I think Jacob Trouba is just, he brings that presence in the room, and I'm sure that Chris Drury and the management saw that during the playoffs. He's just calm, cool, and collective, and does what he has to do. And that's kind of the thing. Everybody wants to talk about the goal scorers and the guy that's, scoring the big goals and this and that. What about the guy that keeps the puck out of the net? They usually don't get enough attention. Shesterkin has gotten that attention, but sometimes the blue liners get forgotten. And I think that Trouba is one of those guys. Now, you could also say that I'm kind of happy they didn't go that other route, whether that was a Lafreniere or a Zibanejad, because, and I hate to say that those players are soft, because they're not, especially Lafreniere this season, but I think Trouba is the classic old school version of a captain, and I really like that to their room. Now, here's where I disagree with this. I really would have liked to have seen Adam Fox as the captain of the Rangers. I think that Adam Fox is, in terms of his longevity with the Rangers, is going to be overall the better captain. But the problem with Adam Fox is its timing. I think if the Rangers had announced a captain next year, I think Adam Fox would absolutely be the captain of the New York Rangers. But the problem is he had his rookie season 2 years ago. He won the Lanny McDonald, what was it? Not the NYPD award. He probably won if Mr. Ranger award was the thing last year, he could have won that last year. So the Rangers were kind of in a spot where that happened last year. They needed a captain. He wasn't really an alternate captain this year. He's still developing. He's still only played. This will be his third full NHL season. So there's just so much going on with him. He's just not ready yet. But I do think inevitably this is a stepping stone for eventually where we will see a Adam Fox as the captain of the New York Rangers at some point here in the near future. Jacob Trouba isn't necessarily the best player out of the guys I mentioned, but he's a guy that brings those intangibles, and it's basically the things that you can't really describe, but you just, when you see it, you know. And I think that's kind of what we've seen from Jacob Trouba throughout his career, for whatever they gave up in a trade or for however much they pay him per season. And he's maybe not the best skater all of the time and stuff like that. I think this was a good move for the Rangers. There's only one other guy that I would have picked, and that would have been Adam Fox. But based off the circumstance, I think the Rangers did a really good job here. They're going to have a captain next season. And I got to be honest, how many times do you see a Stanley Cup champion without a captain? You don't see that very often. There needs to be that leader in the room, and I think Trouba can do that next season. Guys, let me know what you think down below. Who would you have liked to see be the captain of the Rangers if it wasn't Jacob Trouba? Let me know your guys' thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.